Hello. Thank you for watching our new cooking show. We're calling it Two Sisters and Their Mom. I'm the mom. These are the two sisters who happen to be my daughters, miraculously, Lisa and Lana.
Hello.
Hello.
And what we're doing, what we want to do is try to come back and relive the Cook's Corner days. Cook's Corner was a store that was open from 1977 to 1986, during which time we had many guest chefs come on and we had many good times making things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cookbook has all the recipes that I got while I had the Cook's Corner, and all the recipes in the book have been made. They're all good, I can promise you that, and the book's available to purchase. And the book is called the same thing as our cooking show, which is Two Sisters and Their Mom Reliving the Cook's Corner days. As you can see, what we're going to do today is a peach cream tart, and we've got one made up ahead of time so you can see what the finished product looks like.
And you can also do the same thing with blueberries. You can use blueberries, which is even easier to do than the peaches.
Or raspberries.
Or blackberries.
Any kind
berry.
of berry.
Okay.
We both make it. I make berries though, and Mom uses this crust, and I make mine. So I'm going to show you real
talk
quick.
about the crust. There's 3 different ways of doing this. One of them is to make your own crust, and that's what she
Which
does.
I'm doing right
She's
here.
doing it in the food processor, but in the old days before I had a food processor, I used to try to make the crust, and by the time I got the crust halfway ready to roll, I had more flour on me and on the floor than I had in the crust, and so therefore I tried it about twice and never made another pie. Never made another pie till I got a food processor, where I realized that all you do is put the ingredients of the crust in with the steel blade and let it operate for about 3 seconds, and you've got a rolled up crust, and all you're going to have to do is press it into the prepared pan.
So what I did was put the flour, the butter, and the sour cream, and that's all it is to the crust. Put it in the Cuisinart, and you just turn it on. It will roll right up into a ball. And as soon as it rolls up into a ball, you take it out and form your crust.
Unless you need a little more.
If you need a little more liquid,
I don't
but
think
you
so.
don't. But I've never had to add more. See?
Yeah.
Perfect bowl.
So that's the second way of making a crust, and that's a very easy way to make a crust. And then the third way, which is what I do, I buy them because they're so good. They're as good as what I can make. And so I buy crusts, and I always have at least 1 box of crust in my freezer because they freeze beautifully. And that way, if I ever get the desire to make a cake someday, I've got the crust already there. So that's the 3 ways of making a crust. And
Okay, you want to get it up over the edges too.
after they get it all pressed in, we're going to talk about blind baking. And blind baking is something most people don't know what it's called, but they probably do it. And what it is you pre-bake the pie crust before you put the filling in. That way the pie crust does not get soggy with the juices from the filling.
And we never knew it was called blind baking. We just didn't really have a name for it. And this summer she came up with blind baking. I don't think she made it up.
No, I knew it was called blind baking. But what we do, and as soon as she's done, I'll show you.
Just have to make sure it's all around the sides.
Can I
In blind baking, you can actually buy the pie weights, and what they do is you put wax paper into this, and then you pour pie weights on top of it, and that keeps the pie crust from shrinking. Because if you didn't do anything, it would shrink away from the sides of it, and you don't want that to happen. So you can buy pie weights. You can buy them in most little kitchen shops, but you can also use beans, the kind of beans that you make bean soup with, the hard ones, the ones that you have to soak overnight. Use those, and I have them here in this.
Now we're using parchment paper, and you can use wax paper or parchment.
Yeah.
And then you just dump the beans, and you know we all have a jar of beans in our kitchen. And then just kind of press them down so they're weighting the crust down. And then you bake that for how long?
30 minutes.
30
And I'm
minutes.
gonna put it in the oven right now.
So we're gonna bake that for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna prepare the peaches, which the peaches are boiling now. We put them in boiling water just to make it easy to peel them. So they only cook for like a minute, and they've been in here almost a minute, so I'm gonna turn the heat off. And then I'm gonna put them in cold water, and then I'm gonna peel them and slice them and get them ready to go into the pie.
When you buy your peaches, always ask if they are cling-free, because if they're cling-free, they come apart from the pit relatively easily. If they're not pit-free, you ruin your peach trying to get it off the pit, and I've done that before. So you want it to be, they call it New Haven cling-free, and there's another name for it which escapes me now, but it's cling-free, meaning that it's going to come away from the pit without having to ruin the peach.
I've seen that on cans, the cling-free, but I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, that's what it means. It doesn't cling. And if it clings, you have a mess on your hands.
I just want to see how easily these peel. It's much and you don't waste any of the peach because you don't pull half the peach away when you're trying to peel it.
And you can also do this with tomatoes. If you're gonna can tomatoes, you can take the tomatoes, boil them, pull the skin off, and they come off just as easily.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now this is a pie that, this recipe I clipped out of the newspaper, the local newspaper in 1977, I remember it. And I don't know why I remember stupid stuff like that, but I can't remember what I did yesterday. But anyway, I have made it every peach season since then. Usually I make 2 or 3 pies a year in August and give them to my neighbors, or I'm going to any kind of a picnic or anything, I take that. And if you take this peach cream tart to a picnic, you always take home an empty dish. I've never brought home a piece of pie. So it's very, very good recipe.
And the blueberries are even much easier.
yeah, because I always make them with blueberries.
All you do is
Just
clean those.
Yeah, you just wash those and.
But see, I'm just peeling this off with my hands. That's how easy it is.
You can do it with blackberries, you can do it with raspberries. It's very versatile, whatever berry you happen to have, but it is seasonal. I've never used canned peaches, and I wouldn't. If I can't make it with fresh peaches, I'm not going to make that pie.
So this is a summer dish for us.
Yes.
And you do 6 peaches, which we have here, and now I'm going to cut them and put them into, well, I'm going to get them cut.
You're going to put them into that crust that's already been made.
Okay. Here's an already pre-baked crust, blind baked crust.
And so you just take the peach and go around it.
They're slippery.
There.
They are slippery.
And you can put these peaches like, if you want to decorate them like this, you can.
Make them semicircle or whatever.
You can make like a concentric circle, and that takes some time, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I feel like my entire life I've been running to catch up, so I never have the time to do that, and I just put
And
them
it
in.
still looks just as
Right.
just as pretty, I think.
Yeah, like the pie we showed you, I just dumped the peaches in. I didn't do anything about making them a concentric circle.
All right, there's skin on here.
Well, the thing is, I can't see.
And she wouldn't
That's
let
why I
me
think
know
I look
that.
nice when I really don't. I always said if I could see myself the way other people see me, I'd probably never go out of the house, but thank God I can't see that well.
Now, Mom and I used to do this for the, when we sold real estate, we did a cooking show on TV, just the local station. And I would come in we would tape on Tuesday nights, and I would come in Tuesday morning to the office, and we would say, so what are we going to do tonight? and then I would go to the grocery store and get it ready, and she would show up, everything would be ready, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't, like our Halloween experience.
Yeah, our Halloween experience, we took recipes that were in a magazine, and they just absolutely did not
Turn
work.
out.
We tried to make spider legs out of black licorice and put them in probably a cookie or something, and then the legs would pop up. And
I mean,
we
it
were
just kept
laughing
falling.
so hard. And the show was called What's Cooking with Remax, because that was the Remax company was who we were working for. honestly. The way it started out was that we were gonna have a show with Remax, bringing on people who had anything at all to do with buying a house, like attorneys, inspectors, pest inspectors, that type of thing. We did that. Okay, we're sick of you.
I know. Well, now we gotta get to the filling.
Okay, the filling is,
Let me tell my story.
oh, okay.
So anyway, we did for September, October, November, we had guests on, and we had a show that informed people what goes on when you buy a house. In December, we didn't know what to do, so we thought, well, let's do a cooking show. So we made a croquembouche, which is German for Christmas tree. And it's made out of cream puffs that you fill, and then you drizzle sugar over them that's been caramelized sugar, you drizzle over it to make it just look like spun gold, and it's a beautiful.
And delicious.
But we did it with all the Remax agents, and there were like 5 of us standing in line, and each one was taking a cream puff and filling it and putting it on the tree. Nobody knew what they were doing. I was the only one who knew what we were supposed to be doing, but nobody knew what they were doing. And we were laughing. And we got at least 25 phone calls the next morning saying, please don't go back to the regular show. We want to watch you cook.
Really?
So we did that.
That's hilarious.
But as Vicki and I were filling the cream puffs, the cream was coming out the other end. So the filling for this is 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of flour, and you see Mom measured like she
And if
wants.
you don't have a food processor, would you just mix it with a mixer?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, most everybody has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 3
3
egg yolks.
yolks.
And this is where you have to separate the eggs, and then you can put your the egg whites. You can make meringues out of them if you.
If you're a real dedicated cook, try making meringues, because meringues are delicious, but they're a little difficult to make, not to actually make, but to have them turn out, because if it's a humid day, they don't turn out. So you want to do your egg whites. First of all, you want them to be room temperature before you start mixing them, and you want to add sugar to them, and it's really a taste of whatever you want to add to them. And then you put them out on a cookie tray, and you put them in a 200-degree oven for like overnight. And that's how you make meringues. And then you store them in an airtight container, and they'll last for a few weeks that way. But just some delicious desserts that I've made with meringues that make me want to make meringues out of that, because I know how good the dessert is.
We're gonna have to get her off the show. She talks.
She talks too much. I also put
Sounds like a
cup
future
of,
show to me.
also 1/4 cup of sour cream, and all you do is mix the 4 ingredients. I mean, this is so simple to make. I always just go down over it and get everything in.
And if, I don't know whether you noticed or not, but Lana made the pie crust in the food processor. She did not wash the bowl out. And you don't have to if you're making the same recipe. You don't have to have it clean in between times, which is not the same as meringues. Meringues has to be absolutely clean before you, and dry before you do anything.
Okay, now the trick to this, what I just learned last week when we were trying this, is to put your finger up underneath. There's a hole. You put your finger up underneath so the blade doesn't fall out, because the blade is really, really, really sharp.
Plus, it makes a big mess, and learning how to do that trick was worth the price of the food processor to me.
Okay, do you want to get that spatula?
Yeah, it's already out.
Okay, I'm gonna.
You want to take that blade out?
Yeah, there we go.
I got it.
Got it?
Yeah. And here's the one that before it goes in the oven, and this is the finished product after it comes out.
So, it's a good thing to make if you want to be good to your neighbors, make a peach pie and take it over, they love it.
And it really, I mean, you see how quickly we did that.
It's
It's
just
done.
a great way to use fresh peaches.
Thank you. Voila, right, yeah.